So several months ago, when I sat down with my team and decided that we would have this opportunity to do a college send-off Shabbat, we didn't just want to bless our college and grad students going off to school for a new year, but we also wanted to give them some knowledge, some information, some responses to what we all know more and more of our college students are facing on campuses throughout North America in this day and age. And that is, how do you stand up for Israel? What do you say to people who may be involved in what's called BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions, those who call for the end of the Jewish state? How do you respond? And so tonight, we turn to our friends at AIPAC, and we were very blessed tonight that AIPAC sent my friend, many of us know, Jerry Greenspan, who joined AIPAC back in March of 2012. Today, in his role as Regional Political Director, Jerry works day in and day out to increase pro-Israel political participation in the southwest region of the United States. A lifelong Texan, Jerry is responsible for educating candidates and members of Congress from both parties throughout the 7-state region. Prior to joining AIPAC, Jerry served as the Chief of Staff, Legislative Director, and Campaign Manager for a Texas state representative and was active in both state and local Houston politics. Please join me as we welcome tonight to Beth Yeshurun, Jerry Greenspan.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Strauss, thank you for inviting me, and to the entire congregation, thank you for welcoming me here on this very special Sabbath. To our Bat Mitzvah, congratulations, and to your family, Mazel Tov. To our college students and college students-to-be, and there's a lot of college students-to-be, whether next year or many, many years from now. Just know that this is the most nerve-wracking speech I'll give all year, because I don't want to be the guy that looks like he's trying to connect with a group of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. I promise not to do it a lot. I graduated only 13 years ago, but the differences between our experiences couldn't run much deeper. If you take really one thing away from this, and really the entire congregation, if you take one thing away from this tonight, I hope it's that you know you have a voice. You have a voice that matters. It cannot be silenced, but you must use it in an informed and effective and educated way. So to the college students and your parents and the entire congregation, I want to spend a few minutes reminding us about the great power and, yes, the great responsibility of our voices, and that is the depth of my connecting with teenagers, is a Spider-Man reference tonight. As Rabbi said, 8 years ago, I came to AIPAC to work on a singular issue that mattered to me, Israel. I didn't have the benefit of having worked on this issue on campus, but when I refer back to that comic book character for a moment, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that responsibility. I'll tell you very honestly, I had come to one of the most powerful organizations in Washington, D.C., a group widely respected, most of the time misinterpreted, armed with virtually no information. I knew next to nothing about the U.S.-Israel relationship, next to nothing about how Congress and our government provides the support the Jewish state needs to not only survive, but to thrive. I knew I just loved Israel, and AIPAC is what taught me. What I learned is that AIPAC's power is derived from all of us in this room, concerned, educated, and informed citizens with a vote and a voice. Our job, my job, and that of the folks on campus I will talk about in a minute, our job is to harness your power together as a pro-Israel community here in Houston, around Texas, on campus, wherever you go, to educate you, your members of Congress, the students you go to school with, regardless of whether they're Jewish, regardless of what corner of the country they come from, because this issue, Israel, is not just a Jewish issue, of course. It is important to us as Jews. It's important to Christians. It's important to Muslims. It is important to Americans, Europeans, Arabs, Africans, Asians, for all sorts of economic and religious, diplomatic, cultural, scientific, and yes, security-related reasons. I actually don't care. It doesn't matter to AIPAC or to anyone what your politics are, what your political leanings are. I don't care if you like the American administration or if you hate it, if you love the Israeli government or you think it's time for a change. Neither country's government is perfect. I say that as the political director. It never has been, it never will be. The point I'm trying to make is I know that everybody in this room cares about, loves this country, the United States of America, loves and cares about the Jewish state of Israel. But our power is derived from our ability to petition our government. But there's an effort out there, as the rabbi said, known as BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Its effort is to silence you, the college students on campus. It's meant to silence us as a community, and it's meant to isolate Israel into non-existence. The stated goal of BDS for those headed to campus in the next few days, the stated goal of those who promote BDS on campus is to utilize an economic and cultural boycott of Israel, to end the occupation, force a solution to the most entrenched, overanalyzed, misunderstood diplomatic stalemate in human history. Do not get me wrong. A two-state solution is absolutely something worth fighting for. It's a cause worth fighting for and pushing for and pushing for. And we should all continue to work towards that goal. But the fact is, the BDS campaign, as it was truly organized and created, was never meant to achieve that particular goal. The founders of BDS, the stated goal of those who truly founded it, is a singular, secular state that allows for refugees from across the world who claim Palestinian citizenship to come home, but it does not permit the immigration of Jews from across the world to their modern, historic, and biblical homelands. In reality, what those pushing BDS are calling for is a Palestinian-run country that will see Jews as the minority, unable to determine their own destiny, our own destiny, by ourselves, for ourselves, just as Theodore Herzl dreamed of in the late 1800s. Unfortunately, nowhere is the BDS campaign more pervasive and more prevalent than on these college campuses today, virtually no matter where you go, unfortunately. What you may encounter, what you've probably encountered if you've already seen it, are loud protests, misinformation campaigns. Campus leaders of the BDS movement will seek to co-opt your fellow students, advocates on other issues, in calling for solidarity, for boycotts of Israel. If they're successful, the story is going to be that your SGA, your Student Government Association, boycotted Israel, that your university boycotts Israel. But the underlying success, I've already mentioned it, the underlying success of that effort is to make you feel disheartened, your friends, your pro-Israel friends feel disheartened, disenfranchised, and unwilling to advocate for the only democratic nation in the Middle East. The real goal of the BDS campaign is to permanently silence a generation of Israel supporters, a generation of young adults, young professionals, and young American leaders that are sitting in this room tonight and in rooms like this across the country, leaving Israel isolated. If you've been on campus and you've run across the folks, my colleagues in AIPAC's Leadership Development Department, we work on hundreds of college campuses to educate and empower the next generation of American pro-Israel leaders to take part in the political process on campus and in the halls of Congress. Our role is to provide you, the students, the information you need to talk about Israel in a positive light, to proactively prevent BDS from being whispered and from becoming a more prevalent, more pervasive part of your college experience. The things that Israel does well, and I said it earlier, no government, no country is perfect. There are negative pieces about every single country out there. This is meant to talk about the solid and positive things that Israel does, and to have a nuanced conversation about these issues, something you won't find from those trying to promote BDS. Our goal is actually not to engage the masses. Our goal is to engage the leaders, the influentials, the movers and shakers, the people running for student government president, running for president of the college Democrats, college Republicans, people that have already shown a political aspiration, because when you begin to run for student body president in high school and in college, it's very evident to us that you're going to run for something else. You have that bug, and you're going to run for something else. We want to talk to the students beyond this room, beyond the Jewish room. Your friends who are going to run for these offices are not just Jewish. They're Christian, and they're Muslim, and they're Asian, and they're African American. We want to create a meaningful dialogue. We want you to be able to create a meaningful dialogue with the leaders about the U.S.-Israel relationship. Aside from helping the students here and your students, if your parents or grandparents, what I love about this particular program, our work on campus, is that we're not only educating the next generation of leaders about the U.S.-Israel relationship. As I said, we're working to produce a productive dialogue, teach young adults how to have a productive dialogue despite their ideological differences, rather than engaging in hateful, divisive debate. I think we can agree it's all something we need in this country in the next 20, 30, 40 years. We need it today, but in the next 20, 30, and 40 years. You'll learn more and more about the issues as you engage with your fellow students, and as you learn more and read more, you have to take it as your responsibility. Just as I sit down with candidates for Congress, as the rabbi said, my goal is to educate them, and I knew nothing 8 years ago. I truly had to learn it from the ground up. I learned it by reading and by doing, by talking to others. Just as I educate candidates for Congress, you and the crowd can educate your friends who will make a difference on campus. And you should care what they're thinking about this issue. You shouldn't vote for somebody in student government for Congress unless you know where they stand on this particular issue. Educate them, befriend them if they're not already your friends, and talk about this particular issue. And as important as these conversations are, the other part of the leadership development, our work on campus that I love so much, beyond these conversations, is showing Israel to student government leaders. APAC and groups around the country invest untold sums of money to take students of all backgrounds to Israel so that they can see it. Just as we take members of Congress there, I think anyone who's been to Israel would be hard-pressed to not walk away with a deeper, better understanding of these issues. We believe every member of Congress is responsible for learning about the U.S.-Israel relationship, because they have a vote, they have a voice. And yes, we absolutely believe that each one of them needs to go and see it and learn it for themselves. To that end, AIPAC's foundation took over 65% of the freshman members of Congress to Israel this month to transform from a theoretical discussion about the issues to a visceral, palpable experience. If for some reason our college students haven't been to Israel yet, Birthright and getting engaged in AIPAC on campus are ways that you can find yourselves in Israel within the next few years. And these are not sightseeing tours. These are truly historical and deep dive issues that we take students on and members of Congress on, so that you can understand every nuance as much as you can get in 7 days. I'm still learning after 8 years, so this is something that you got to begin with tonight and continue on for the rest of your days in college and the rest of your lives, truly. But this last month, over 70 members of Congress, including 8 from here in Texas, spent a week in Israel meeting with everyday Israeli government leaders, opposition members, representatives of the Palestinian Authority, and some of the top opinion makers the country has to offer. If we can stop and imagine for a minute, in today's political climate, Democrats and Republicans in Congress spending time together in the Holy Land, sharing dialogue, collaborating, spending meaningful time together. This is a miracle in many ways. And it's at the heart of what AIPAC does, equipping you, equipping our activists, equipping the people on Capitol Hill who have the conviction to create change, giving them the competence and the confidence they need to do just that, to lead. And this is, I know, one of the many lessons we'll find in the Torah portion this week. As the sages suggest, at the highest levels of reverence and honor, beyond even that afforded to our own parents, is reserved for teachers. In the words of Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, the former chief rabbi of Great Britain, when someone exercises power over us, he or she diminishes us. But when someone teaches us, he or she helps us grow. When I tell that to some people, I translate it into Texan. I say, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him to fish, feed him for life. Judaism favors leadership in the guise of education over the exertion of power. My prayer for this evening and my challenge to our college students is that we may all begin to see ourselves as leaders, advocates of education to our friends, our representatives, and ourselves on what it means to be a pro-Israel American, to be an active participant in fulfilling the Zionist dream. And I hope I've just started you, just the beginnings of that conversation as you go on this journey. I hope you'll join us on campus in the halls of Congress as we seek to truly engage tomorrow's leaders today, which you are undoubtedly a part of. Rabbi Strauss, thank you for having me tonight. To the entire congregation, Shabbat Shalom.
Jerry, thank you. And please know, our college students and grad students, or those who may be watching on our live stream, that when you go off to college, no matter where you are, you're never alone as a Jewish student. There often will be a Hillel on your campus, Chabad. There may be other Zionist organizations, pro-Israel organizations, Jewish Democrats, Jewish Republicans, all types of organizations. And also know you can always reach out to your Beth Yeshurun rabbis. Any of us, we're always happy to get an email from you, a text or a call. And know that several times throughout the year, you'll get packages from me. Getting ready for Hanukkah and Rosh Hashanah and Passover, you'll get a care package so you never forget when the holiday is and when it's coming. And so know we're still here from you. No matter where you go off to campus, you're never alone. And anytime you're confronted because you're Jewish and someone confronts you about Israel, know that there are people you can reach out to seek help and support from. You're truly never alone, even as you go off to campus throughout this country in the next few days. And so tonight, not only do we want to hear from our friend Jerry Greenspan, we want to give an opportunity for our college students to be blessed. So I'm going to ask our college students and grad students that may be here this evening to rise, to stand. I see a few tonight. I know many have already left for school, but any of our college students or grad students, if you'll stand. And I'm going to ask my son to come up here. And I guess you could tell where he's going to school next year. And his friend Ethan and my wife Lisa, come on up. And let's have our parents of our grad students or college students stand up as well next to their sons or daughters. And if you'll turn to the Shabbat announcements, we have a special prayer. It's called Parents' Prayer Before College. Let's read it now to our children, as whether they go off to college for the first time or whether they've been there for many years, as we bless our students in these days when they get off to go to campus throughout our country. So for all of our parents, let's read together. Adonai Eloheinu, Lord our God, keep my son or daughter safe as they learn more about the world themselves, and I hope their Jewish inheritance at college. Open their hearts to different people and their minds to new ideas. Let them acquire wisdom and skills to navigate life's challenges and struggles without my prying and help. Indeed, let them grow more independent. Restrain me from texting too often, but let them remain certain I am always available to listen, advise, and most of all, offer words of love and comfort. Even though my shelter and embrace is now distant from their daily lives, let them find protection in your eternal care. Blessed are you, Adonai, who listens to prayer, and let us say amen. And now I'm going to ask our students to remain standing with their parents, and as the cantor has a special song that he'd like to sing to all of our college and grad students.
May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and love. May grace and compassion compassion find their way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. Everybody. Amen. Amen. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing.
And when our college and grad students leave this evening, our education director, Cheryl Eskowitz, has a special traveling mezuzah for you to take with you, to keep with you at college, to know that we offer God's blessings to you and only success as you go off and make us proud this new school year. And to that, let us all say, Amen.